Sorry, guys. I didn't know why it looped twice. Well, let's start with the basics. I think that's a great spot to go and to get into. Give me 1 second here, and then we'll go from there. You definitely should be getting that. So, good morning. I don't know what's going on here. This PDD, they must have said something. Said something. I don't know. I don't know what the heck they said. A lot of movement this morning. Let's start with the NQ, and let's take this all off and start getting rid of this. And we're just going to start with the 5-minute on it. I think that's the best place to start. And I'm going to take a bunch of questions today because there's a lot going on, and I think that'd be really helpful. You're kind of leveling off already right here off the lift, right? So we can all see that. I don't know that we're going to dig this color. I think we're going to go to something and just start coloring this stuff accurately. I don't like that color. I guess we'll use that for now and then figure it out later. Yeah, I mean, you're kind of getting that dissension off the move already from Friday, but I'm not really sweating that. I think if you really take a look at what happened here, you're just getting rotation more than anything, right? So you have this level up here. I'll tell you what I don't like a lot is I don't like this. So it's actually as if they're walking you down and this is getting worse, not better. So I refer to them as fans. I don't know what people call them, but when you have a trajectory like that, and I guess you could argue that it's actually higher, it's up here, and then maybe it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. You could actually argue that, I guess. No, that's true. So it's not as bad as I thought it was. It's not great though. So you're still kind of heavy, and I just think that's rotation more than anything, but I think that's coming to an end. Frankly, if you just, you don't really want to break these levels down here. I'm not really sure you're going to break that 23,000. I don't think that that's on the agenda at all. I really don't think so. For some reason, you won't give me what I want, so I'll just take it. And then I think you're okay here. Let's go back a little further and see what happened at that level. Yeah. So we definitely want to watch that level. We definitely don't want to break it. And we can see that's been a battleground, right? So let's just watch it. Let's go flip to a 15-minute real quick and see what that's telling us, if anything different. Not really. It's pretty much what we have and pretty much how you should see it. If we go look at that hourly, we just don't want to break this level. I don't know why you would right now, especially going into earnings this week. And if we go back and take a look at that on the 4-hour, that doesn't get any cleaner. If we go and take a look at it from this perspective, that's actually pretty negative because you've actually undercut the low and you didn't drop. So it's actually a negative divergence, which is not really great, but I'm not really sure that the NASDAQ's going to outperform right now anyway. I think it's going to be the IWM. I think it's going to be small caps, individual names is really what I think you're going to get. So we'll see. But in regards to NQ, it is what it is. I just don't think you have to be in a huge hurry here to get involved. I don't know why. I think that they're more out of position with the small caps and I think they're way more out of position with the small caps than they are with anything else, right? So we'll have to see how that goes. But that's your breakout bar. But I think they're way more out of position there than anything else. Let's get that and drop that in on the same page. It's 8:30. Cool. Thank you. Let's go take a look at the ES, and I'm just going to jump right into questions today. I think that's the way to play this off the open. If we look at the ES, I have all these levels marked off from the other day. I'll leave them on, but I don't think I need to. I think you're really here, but I'm going to leave these on because they did kind of wreak havoc on a couple spots. So let's just leave it. Yeah, I think you need them all. Well, I think you could drop to the top of that. but you ran buckshot right over it. So I don't really view that as the be all end all. I do think you are developing a DTL, and I don't think that's the worst thing. I just don't think you're going to go anywhere until NVIDIA's earnings. And then maybe when they see PCE and they actually see the reaction to PCE, which is this week, until then, I don't think that they're going to do anything. It's just my opinion, but you are rejecting here, and you've hit that level a couple times. So it's definitely something to be aware of. If we took a look at this from the top of this over, you can't even get close to it. So we move that down to right here, and we can all see that as well. It's already hitting that trend line. Not much more to do with it. I mean, there it is. We can move that up a little bit to that level. But if we're to look at that, I just don't see the panic here or the reason that we have to rush into it. If anything, you're just going to come down, backfill, and then go higher. And people are going to say, oh, I knew we were going to crash. And then we don't crash. We just go higher. That's usually what happens. And that's really how I say it. You're just going to grind higher. You're going to turn and grind. It's just a matter of time. And I don't see any reason to change my thesis on that or think that's any different. People will think that, oh, you're cutting rates because things are bad. No, you're cutting rates because of what you're dealing with, right? You're dealing with some other stuff. So let it all come in. This is what I always feel about these markets. Let them come in, let them drop, let them fall apart. And then, we'll kind of go from there. But I don't really see the need to panic this stuff. I would say that, people looked at like Circle and some of these other names and said, oh boy, I better get out after the big run-ups. Yeah, I'm not so sure that wasn't just option related. So I'd watch that stuff heavily today. And let's get to these questions. Yeah, I actually think the RH is super interesting. You're going to have a bunch of people that were short this, and those people are going to look at this and say to themselves, oh, I can cover and they can get out now. And I think that's what they're going to do. Someday there might be tariffs on these companies, and we'll find out in 2 months. I don't even know what to do with that. Like, okay, we're really going to look at this. What does that mean? I don't even know what that means. So, I don't know. It's really fascinating to me where you're coming out and saying, like, how fast are you going to find a bunch of woodworkers in the country to go and do these businesses? It's super interesting the way that they're going about this. I personally traded RH and made money on it on Friday, but I have a position in this W now. I'm fine with it. I mean, to me, it seems stupid. Like, okay, we were just here and we're going to fall apart because there's going to be tariffs. Maybe. And that's the key word, maybe. But we don't know that for sure. We'll find out in 2 months. Like it's really weird the way that they're going about this stuff. And just instead of just saying, we looked into this, we ran it, and this is what's going on. So you could gap fill today on these names. I think there's so many people that are short those names that went out. So that really wouldn't surprise me. I'm not really in a panic mode here. And some of the things that I'm long, that I'm down in, I think they're just shaking the tree. I think you have to look at this stuff from a longer term perspective. Days like this, I really like 3-bar patterns, John. I'd much rather have, and if you're in the community, you already know this stuff, but like, I'd much rather have an inside bar and then get something like this with it, where you break out. Let's move that over one. Okay. I'm really not in the mood for your nonsense. There you go. So I'd like to get something like that so I have something to work off of. What I get and what I want are usually two different things, but that's what I'd want. Do I think this is going to go higher longer term? I just don't see how it can't. If he doesn't cut rates in September, they're going to go after him. Like, they're going to go after him with pitchforks. So he's cutting rates in September. I mean, there's no bones about it. It doesn't really even matter what the data is this week. If he doesn't cut rates, they're going to go after him with literal pitchforks, not figuratively. So I do think that they're going to cut rates. I do think that the dot plot's going to be super interesting. And we get a new dot plot in September 17th, 18th, right? So we got that going for us. And I've been doing these with the glasses. It's actually been working. It's actually been helping for those that are asking. They're blue light glasses. They're not prescription, but it is definitely helping. So it certainly helped with, people said that if you wear them, it helps with sleep. There's no question that it's doing that. So if I'm to look at something like this, the question really becomes, do I need to do it now? I mean, you're kind of getting there to the answer is kind of, yeah. I mean, you kind of have to start looking at this, but I think you're about a month away from where you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't do this. So I usually get really early with these themes, and then I forget about them because I have got the attention span of a goldfish. But yeah, that stuff's going to be around. There's no doubt about it. NVIDIA's earnings are going to be very interesting because I think they're going to beat, but I think they have a huge conversation that they need to have. That's got to happen, John. I don't know what they're going to say about China because it's not the US that's the issue now. It's the buyer, right? The buyer saying that we have an issue, and we'll see how that goes, but that's the issue that I see. The buyer doesn't want them, and maybe they are bugged. I don't know. We can all debate that, but I mean, we don't know. We don't have a clue, but that's definitely on their radar. And, they come out and say China's not going to buy the H20. Now you've lost a market, or have you? Because they're just getting the other chips. I mean, Singapore is like what, the greatest buyer of all their chips. I mean, it just happens to be Singapore. I mean, come on, man. But it's going to be an interesting conference call. Ooh, pardon me. Good morning. So let's go through them. So this is the kind of thing that makes me not want to buy these little guy names because of this kind of nonsense. So I have a tough time buying this stuff. And this is exactly why. When I look at it, it's like you're in, and then you get one bar that completely encapsulates everything. And you get these kinds of patterns that are much less predictable because you don't have institutional support. And that's why I hate these kinds of names because, okay, you could have bought this. Should you buy the breakout? I don't know. I thought you should have, I thought that this would have marked the end of the trade, right? So, I mean, I wish you the best with it. That kind of stuff, man, I think it gets really hard. Open, you had the most volume that you've had in this name of any name on Friday, most volume, most shares traded. And when you see something like that, pardon me, when I see something like that, it always bothers me because that just shows speculative excess. And it just means usually it's coming to an end. Now, does that move it to 7 before it comes to an end? I don't have a clue. So far the trade was not even holding it over the weekend. The trade was buying the dip this morning at like 470, and now, probably cashing it out, to be honest with you, and locking it in. I know there's guys out there that have nailed a couple names saying this thing's going to 80. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. It's not getting to 80 in a day, like no matter how smart you are, it's just not. So you have a lot of shares outstanding, and now you're a $5 billion company. And should you be trading higher? Are you going into this new super cycle? Maybe you are, maybe you are going to that, and if you look at the base, you've been basing for 2 years, you're setting up to break out. So, maybe the fundamental side of the story does develop. I know they got rid of the CEO and they're putting a new CEO in. But a week ago, this thing was $1.70. Nobody wanted it. Now everybody wants it $5.25. I would just be careful of it. I watched it on Friday, and it does get these lulls where you are able to get back in this thing. So if you just watch how this thing acts, like get rid of the pre and the post, you'll see, oh, you get these huge run ups and then you just get these pullbacks, and they're not like small pullbacks by any stretch. They're decent sized pullbacks. And so just allow them to work. And, I had another one in here. Oh, we're breaking out. We're going to go. And then the next day, 340. And then we do the undercut 343. And you'll see them over and over again. Like, oh, we're definitely going to break out. And then you break out. And then what happens? Right. And then, oh, we're at 4. We're definitely going to go this time. I'm definitely not selling because we're going to 80. And then, okay, now you're at 3. What are you doing? Oh, I got to get out because it hit my stop. That's why these things are so hard. You're better off taking positions in these things like they're options and leaving them on and sizing them that way. So I find greater value in doing it that way with these kinds of names because it's harder. So, it's much harder, I think. TEM is super interesting to me. And I think that the movement on Friday is super interesting too, because it's the same trade. Like here's Circle, here's PLTR. Like it's the same trade. It's just the names are different. That's all. I mean, it's really crazy when I went through them. So it was obviously one big trade. So if you look at it from that perspective, let's go look at this on a weekly because you'll see it even clearer. You'd have to look at this and go, man, get me above this level. And you tried and you failed. So you did it once, and then the next week you were rejected with a bearish engulfing, which tells you that you have this whole pattern up here you still have to break out of. The one thing I would say about it to me is higher, low, higher, low, higher, low. So no matter how you look at it, if I use the bodies, you're going higher. And the trajectory of those bodies is actually changing to me. It's actually getting stronger, right? And you can actually see the other turn, like to connect the dots, right? So you're like I refer to them as fans, but it's actually getting stronger. So you're getting more and more buying, and I think that's important. But I don't know, man. Until I get over that area, do I have to be in this? Now this is going to get super interesting because here's your undercut. They've got it on lock as far as a company goes. And I think that if you looked at this from an hourly, and this is how I saw this. There you are. And then here's that gap where you gapped out. Boom, holds. It's very clear you're not breaking 21, or if you do break 21, you have a problem. The larger issue is how high does this thing go now? I would argue that it can probably really, really motor now, that this might actually be its season. And, you saw it on Friday and you saw how it moved on Friday, but this could really be its quarter. This could really get going now, more so than Hood, because they benefit greatly from the rate cuts that are coming, and they are coming. Make no bones about it. So I find this super interesting. It's definitely on my radar to watch and get involved with. I just think we really have to watch the markets today and try to figure out which way this whole thing's going to go. They're trying to knock us down. And I've been going through some of these, like looking at them all morning. I'm just not sure that I'm buying what they're trying to sell this morning, I guess, is the way that I look at it. And, I'll find out if that's right or if it's not right later. I really like the Sophie here. Good morning. Let's go take a look. Good morning from New York. Good morning from Miami. I don't think you're in a big hurry here to do anything, dude. I don't think you can get out of your own way, and I don't think you're going to. I don't think you're going to go anywhere. I really don't. I don't see any reason for that to move. You're going to have to look at the names that have like news and things that are coming out. UUARF. Rare metals. I mean, why? Like, why is this one moving? I'm not saying that it shouldn't. I'm just trying to figure out, is it moving because we just found it and no one was paying attention to it? I mean, it's legitimate reason for it to move. But, I'm not touching that thing, but I could see it going. I don't really pay. I don't really pay attention to the German 30-year bond. I mean, they have their own issues. I don't think it's a big deal for us. Look at the DAX. What's the DAX doing on it? So if you go and take a look at German bonds, 10-year, 20, 30-year government bonds. I don't know why I would be that concerned about it. It doesn't really seem like a concern to me. I mean, price in the bond is dropping, right? Because they're going to go and spend more money. So they're going to go spend money to defend themselves. So, where's that money going? EU AD, right? Which is just setting up to break out again. So super easy trade. I actually think Italy, we talked about this the other day, Jacob brought it up, but like Italy to me is probably going to keep going. Like this makes a lot of sense. A lot. If you look at EWI and how much of their business is like defense, and the other thing that's super interesting about this trade is all the clothier places are going to go into Italy to build out of China. And they're going to go, and then from Italy, they already do this. That's how Northern Italy got hit with the pandemic first. And then they go there and then they get the made in Italy label. But what's so fascinating about that is it's probably going to accelerate because China is going to look to how they can circumvent those tariffs. I mean, anybody would, right? Like nobody goes, geez, I wonder how I could pay more tariffs. Just like no one goes, geez, I really wish they charged me more in taxes. like nobody's going to do that. So, but I do, the more I thought about this over the weekend, I really think Italy is going to keep going. I actually think Italy is going to be like a juggernaut overseas. I think it's going to rival what's going on. I really do. I was thinking a lot about this, and I really think it is. Like you see that breakout. The more I look at it, the more I feel that way. And I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. But I really do think that. Like, and I'm pretty good with this stuff. Like the larger macro stuff. Like we nailed Argentina, and I think I'm right here. I think that their GDP is going to go up pretty drastically for over the rest of like the European nations. The amount of defense that they do there, like Leonardo's there, but also all the clothier companies and the way that they're courting, the way that Italy is courting wealth right now is really brilliant. They agree to a flat fee and then that's it. So, these people aren't having to go to, like let's say you get people that want to renounce their citizenship, like in the US, right? So or people say, oh, I'm going to go to Puerto Rico or that kind of stuff. Italy just assigns a number and says, this is the number you're paying for the next 10 years. And no matter what they make, that's their number. And that's what they agree to pay. And now you have a European passport. So super interesting what they're doing. And I really think that a lot of people are going to take a hard look at that if they're aware of it. Just my 2 cents on it. I really like this trade. The more I think about it, like the more time I spend with it, the more intriguing it is to me. So, and then they have an EU passport versus, going to St. Kitts and Nevis, which a bunch of people are doing too. But what else we got going on here before I go off on one of my tangents? How did I get there? The 30-year bond. Jesus, talk about the rabbit hole. Yeah, I don't know that there's much to do with the NASDAQ until then, and it's going to smoke the NASDAQ. I just think they're going to have a real honest conversation about what's going on there, Jay. I like it, but you could see another write down. And I think people are going to be like, oh, for God's sake, because you have to have some of this inventory just sitting there now that was made specifically for Japan. So ACRM, I don't know that one, brother. No. Why would you do that to me? This is very interesting. It has earnings this week, I believe. This is really interesting to me. Oh, I got time. I thought it was this week. I swear this one screen had this week. Give me a second. Hold on one second, guys. Let me see if I can find this. There it is. Iris Energy, which they're saying is IREN. So they're telling me, well, maybe it's a different company. IREN Limited. Maybe this is different, but Iris Energy is supposed to come out on Thursday. And I thought that was this company. Maybe it's not. Let me see something. Why are they calling it Iris Energy? Maybe Earnings Whisper got it wrong, and it is IREN Limited. I'd be really curious. I have to look into this and see if the earnings are really Thursday for this company, and they just have the wrong name on Earnings Whisper. Man, we got some fun ones this week. Kohl's. I can't wait. Anyway, I like this name a lot. NBIS. Yeah, I mean, you just have to look, guys, like this stuff's going to be wicked, like wicked. And you're just going to have to deal with this kind of volatility. I don't think that name's going anywhere. I'm going to have to go through this fast because I've got to make sure that I'm ready by 9 today. I think silver more than gold. I think these are the names you have to look at longer term, but you have to think longer term. Like you have to understand that you're just beginning the cycle of this move. Like that cycle's not ending. We're just beginning it, you know? I think that's how you have to look at it. I think you're just beginning this cycle too. The KRE cycle, I think you're just beginning it. I don't know that we should be thinking bear market. I think you should be thinking rotation and sideways action in stock pickers market. But TLT, I don't know. I find it very difficult to buy. God, no. I love myself. I'm not buying that. Yeah, a lot of people think it's going a lot higher, and I do too. What's up, Bill? Pod? I mean, it looks fantastic. I would like more volume, but that's not really my kind of trade. But it does look fantastic. I'd like more volume. I'm not touching healthcare. I have a trade in healthcare, and that's it. It kind of rejected twice, didn't it? I mean, here's your level. You didn't break the top, but tries to break out, fails, tries the same area to break out. So you clearly have a seller here, don't you? Like, I mean, why would I want to play that? I'd want to wait. These kinds of things are super interesting to me. I'd want to know what kind of company they are. Is it commercial? Home builders? Like, what exactly do they do? I'd want to get into that. Jacob, what's up? APBMY. I have no volume, dude. I like the LECO. Good morning from California. Good morning from Miami. What are these? What do you got for me here, Barry? SGHC. Let's start here. BETZ. Wow, that's super interesting. This gaming ETF's on fire. What's DraftKings doing? Same trade. That's interesting, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know if I chase that. SGHC. I don't know anything about this company. I mean, the volume on Friday is insane. So, there must be something to it. I'd want to know what's going on here. I mean, it's interesting, but I don't know the story. I'd have to know that story. But technically speaking, yeah, over the two you just gave me, you'd want to look at this. I actually just noted that chart. This is super interesting because look at the volume and it broke out. So yeah, that's definitely interesting to me. NOC, GD. I'm just not feeling any of this stuff. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just not feeling it, dude. It's glaringly obvious. Sometimes it is. Jack, I don't know. I want to get into the whole VIX thing because it's not going anywhere. Wolf's super interesting. I think people need to have patience of more than a day. Intel, I mean, the bottom line is they took the money. They need clients, not money. Open, we covered. Happy Monday, Lisa. I'm not touching Intel. What's up, Lynn? You can hedge with the VIX. I mean, it's up to you. If I take a look at something like Bitcoin, I just don't think that I need to rush into that or, this stuff right now. Usually this stuff takes like a day or two to calm down. They just flushed everybody really nicely this morning. So, we'll see. I think they're presenting an opportunity, but again, we'll see how that plays out. You never know. You think it's an opportunity, but maybe it's not. I like them though. UNH. I mean, you're still above the 55, right? I mean, what's to do with it? It held. This is all turning up. You're building a support. I'm going to go through these quickly. They filed change the name. Oh, did they? Oh, is that what they did? They filed change their name. 8:28 after the close. Oh, I got you. They filed change their name. Wolf, I covered. What I would do with the socks is break it down this way. I would go A socks. This is how I look at it. I'd go A socks and see what's going on there. Then I'd go E socks and see what's going on there. And they're buying the entire semiconductor market more than they're buying the AI names right now. That's not great. Back in the day, I don't know why I would get involved with this. The win's interesting, but you're really they keep saying that they're suffering in Vegas, and then you look at these names. Do these names look like they're suffering? I mean, does that look like it's suffering? Not particularly, right? Yeah, I watched this thing break out and then it just rolled right back over. So I'd let that break out. And where was my volume on Friday? Nobody cared. All right, I got to jump, guys. Trade to win today. Make good choices.